Welcome to the Deep Dive. We take complex topics, stacks of sources, and basically give you the essential info you need. Today, we're looking into international markets, specifically the Gulf Cooperation Council region, the GCC.
Right. That's Saudi Arabia, UAE, Kuwait, Bahrain, Oman, Qatar.
Exactly. And it's this incredibly lucrative market,
Right.
especially if you're in the toy business. Huge potential.
Huge. But there's a catch.
Ah, yes, the catch. The compliance regulations are, well, they're really stringent, aren't they?
Extremely. And tiny mistakes, things that seem minor, can cause massive problems.
We're talking big fines, shipments getting stuck, maybe even getting your products banned entirely.
That's absolutely right. Major headaches.
Okay, so that's what this deep dive is about. We're going to unpack, let's say, the top 10 common mistakes toy importers make when they try to enter the GCC. And crucially, how you can avoid them. Think of it as, I don't know, a roadmap to get in safer, faster, and hopefully more profitably.
Good plan.
Because look, if you're eyeing this market and it is growing, you definitely want to get it right, like right from the very start.
Definitely. And maybe before we jump into the mistakes themselves, it's worth just setting the stage a bit, understanding the basic regulatory landscape.
Good idea. Where do we start?
Well, the key player is the Gulf Standardization Organization, GSO.
GSO, got it.
They have what's called the Gulf Technical Regulation for Toys. The reference is BD 13104-01, if you need the specifics.
Okay, and that covers?
It covers the core safety stuff, physical and mechanical safety, no sharp edges, small parts, things like that, flammability standards, and really importantly, chemical safety.
Chemical safety like lead limits.
Phthalates, exactly. Limits on lead, phthalates, other harmful substances. It's quite comprehensive. But the absolute heart of this whole regulation is the G mark.
The G mark?
Yes. And what's fascinating here, unlike maybe some other places, the G mark isn't just like a suggestion. It's mandatory. It's the core proof of compliance.
Mandatory. Okay, that's a crucial difference. It signals the toy meets all those GCC standards.
Precisely. Without it, you're essentially stopped at the border.
All right. That sets the stage perfectly. Let's dive into mistake number 1 then. Skipping the G mark certification altogether. I hear this a lot. People assume their CE mark from Europe or maybe a US safety certification is enough. Why is that such a common and dangerous mistake?
It's a really critical misunderstanding. CE and US certs, they're vital, but only for their specific markets. For the GCC, you must have the G mark. It's tailor-made for their unified requirements.
And if you don't, you just send the toys anyway.
Well, they'll likely get blocked right at customs. That means delays, storage costs, maybe even having to ship them back. It gets expensive fast.
Back block. Okay.
And it's not just the immediate cost. If it happens repeatedly, it shows you don't understand the rules. You could even find your company or your supplier getting blacklisted by the authorities.
Blacklisted. Wow, that's serious.
It makes future entry incredibly difficult.
So it really hammers home the point. It's not just about having a certification. It has to be the right one, the G mark.
Exactly.
Okay, so how do we fix this? How do you ensure you get that G mark properly?
The key is working with a GSO-recognized notified body.
A notified body, okay.
These are the organizations officially approved by GSO to perform the conformity assessments against the GCC technical regulation.
So you find one of these bodies, work with them.
They guide you through the testing and documentation. And once you achieve certification, you have to make sure that G mark symbol is clearly visible.
Where?
On the packaging, definitely. And if it's practical, on the toy itself, too. Visibility is key.
Got it. Work with a GSO notified body, get the assessment, display the mark clearly. Crucial first step. All right, moving on. Mistake number 2, incomplete technical documentation. So it's not just having the safe toy. You need the paperwork to back it up, right?
Absolutely. You need a comprehensive technical file for each toy, and the authorities can ask to see it at any time.
What's the biggest mistake people make with these files? Just not having enough detail.
Often, yes. Or underestimating what comprehensive really means in this context. It's your proof. It needs a detailed product description, its intended use. You need a full risk assessment.
It's a good assessment, okay.
All your safety testing reports. And specifically, they often want to see alignment with the EN71 standard series. That's the European benchmark the GCC largely adopts.
EN71.
Right. What else? Full manufacturer and importer details. Copies of all your labels, warnings, user manuals. It's quite a package.
Sounds like a lot to manage. So what does this mean for daily operations? What's the best practice?
Meticulous record keeping is key. Honestly, using a good digital document management system is probably the way to go.
Makes sense. Easier to update.
Exactly. And you must update it. Every time there's a design tweak, a material change, even a supplier shift, that file needs to reflect it. Keep it current.
Digital records. Keep them updated. Got it. Okay, let's shift gears. Mistake number 3. This one seems straightforward, but trips people up constantly. Ignoring Arabic labeling requirements.
Ah, yes. Very common.
It's not optional, is it? I hear customs are really strict on this.
Not optional at all. It's a non-negotiable gateway requirement. Customs authorities frequently reject shipments missing the required Arabic information.
Why is it such a big deal for them?
It's about consumer safety and clarity within their own markets. Parents need to read warnings and instructions in their own language.
Makes sense. So what exactly needs to be in Arabic on the label?
Several key things. All safety warnings. Age grading and guidelines. The G-mark symbol itself needs to be there, of course. Also, the country of origin, and crucially, the manufacturer or importer's contact details must also be available in Arabic.
Okay, quite specific. How do companies ensure they comply properly?
Well, first step, use certified Arabic translators. Don't rely on, machine translation for safety-critical information.
Good.
Using bilingual labels Arabic alongside English is often a good approach. It covers the requirement and helps with broader logistics, perhaps.
In placement.
It needs to be clear on the packaging. And, again, if feasible, on the toy itself, too. Consistency helps.
Bilingual labels, certified translation, clear placement. Seems manageable if you plan for it. Right, on to number 4. Overlooking chemical and physical safety standards. We touched on this. Toys need to be safe chemically and physically. And the GCC uses the EN 71 standards as a case. But where do things typically go wrong here? What are the common failures?
Yeah, this is where the product itself can fail testing. Common issues include finding banned chemicals. Lead is a classic example, or certain phthalates above the allowed limits. On the physical side, it could be sharp edges, points, or small parts that detach and pose a choking hazard for young children.
Flammability, too, you mentioned.
Yes, using materials that burn too quickly or easily. These aren't just compliance failures, they represent real safety risks.
So this raises an important question. How can you be really sure about what's in your product and that it meets these physical standards?
Rigorous testing is the answer, and not just any testing. Use labs that are accredited to ISO IEC 17025.
Why that specific accreditation?
It's the international standard for testing and calibration labs. It signifies technical competence and reliable results. You need that assurance.
Okay, accredited labs. What else?
Regularly audit your suppliers. Check the materials they're using before they go into production.
Proactive checks.
Exactly. And keep those current test reports meticulously filed. Again, part of that technical documentation we discussed. Be ready to prove it.
Makes sense. Test, audit, document. We're halfway through. Mistake number 5. Mislabeling age appropriateness. This sounds serious.
Yeah.
Getting the age grade wrong or maybe leaving it off entirely?
It is serious. It poses direct safety risks if a toy ends up in the hands of a child too young for it. Think choking hazards again. And from a business perspective, the legal risks are significant. Increased liability if an injury occurs, potential recalls, market withdrawals, even bans.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture, getting the age grade right is fundamentally about protecting kids, yes, but also protecting your business and brand reputation.
Precisely. It's about responsible marketing and safety.
So what's the compliance checklist here? How do you get age grading right for the GCC?
Follow the guidelines in EN 71-1. That part of the standard specifically covers age classification methodology.
EN 71-1.
Okay. Perform thorough hazard assessments, especially regarding small parts for toys intended for children under 3, and then clearly, unambiguously indicate the recommended age range right there on the packaging. Use the standard symbols if applicable.
Clear, unambiguous age grading based on EN 71-1 and hazard assessments. Got it. Okay, number 6. This is an interesting one. Assuming GCC countries share a unified enforcement body. We know the GSO sets the standards for the whole region via the G-mark, but the enforcement, that's different.
That's a really important nuance and a common misunderstanding. Yes, the standards are harmonized, which is great, but enforcement is handled at the national level. Each country has its own authority.
Can you give an example?
Sure. So in the United Arab Emirates, the UAE, the main body you'll interact with, is the Ministry of Industry and Advanced Technology, or MOIAT.
MOAT in the UAE.
But if you go next door to Saudi Arabia, the key agency responsible for toy safety surveillance is the Saudi Food and Drug Authority, the SFDA.
That's FDA in Saudi. Okay, so different agencies, maybe different processes.
Exactly. They might have slightly different import procedures, documentation checks, or market surveillance priorities. The core standard is the same, but the way it's checked and enforced can vary.
So what's the strategy for importers dealing with multiple GCC countries?
You have to do your homework for each specific country you plan to sell in. Research the local enforcement agency. Understand their specific requirements or procedures.
Tailor your approach.
Yes. You might need to customize documentation slightly or ensure labeling meets specific national interpretations. Consulting with local compliance experts, people on the ground in those countries, is often very wise.
It's like having a universal language, the GSO standard, but needing to know the local dialects for enforcement.
That's a perfect analogy.
All right. Mistake number 7. Sourcing from unverified suppliers. This feels like a really foundational issue. Using manufacturers who just aren't familiar with GCC standards or maybe don't prioritize them.
It's a massive risk. It can undermine your entire compliance effort before the products even leave the factory. A huge blind spot for some importers.
What kinds of problems originate from the supplier end?
Oh, several common pitfalls. You might encounter falsified test certificate suppliers claiming compliance they don't actually have. They might use restricted materials, maybe unintentionally because they don't know the specific GCC limits.
Or just get the labeling wrong from the start.
Exactly. Incomplete or incorrect labeling applied at the factory. All these issues create major problems downstream at customs and in the market.
It really sounds like your supply chain is your first line of defense in this market.
Absolutely. Supplier selection and verification are critical.
So how do you vet suppliers effectively for GCC compliance?
First, ask for their current compliance documentation and test reports, specifically related to GMARC or EN 71 standards. Don't just take their word for it.
Verify the documents.
Yes. And consider factory audits. Either conduct them yourself or, perhaps more effectively, hire a reputable third-party auditor with experience in the region and in toy manufacturing.
Audits, okay. Anything else?
Definitely include clear compliance clauses in your purchase contracts. Make adherence to GCC standards a contractual obligation for the supplier.
Document review, audits, contracts. Build compliance in from the source.
That's the goal.
Okay, mistake number 8. This shifts the focus to after the product hits the shelves, ignoring post-market surveillance, or PMS, requirements. So getting through customs isn't the end of the story.
Not at all. Compliance is an ongoing responsibility. Importers have legal obligations to monitor the safety of their toys after they've entered the market.
Why is that so important? What does it involve?
It's crucial for consumer protection and maintaining trust. PMS involves things like having a system to log and properly address any consumer complaints or safety concerns that arise. It also means you have a duty to report any serious safety incidents involving your products to the relevant national authorities.
Reporting incidents.
Okay.
And recalls.
Yes, being prepared to manage product recalls effectively and efficiently if a significant safety issue is identified. It shows responsibility.
So this raises an important question.
Yeah.
What's your plan for after the sale? You need one, right?
You absolutely do. Best practice is to implement a formal post-market surveillance plan.
What does that look like?
It means assigning clear responsibility. Maybe having a dedicated compliance manager or team member overseeing PMS activities, and setting up a robust system for collecting, tracking, and analyzing consumer feedback and safety data. You need to be proactive, not just reactive.
Have a plan, assign responsibility, track feedback, ongoing vigilance.
That's it.
Number 9 is about staying current, not keeping up with regulatory changes. This seems tough. Regulations aren't set in stone, are they? They evolve.
They absolutely do. Standards get updated, chemical limits might change, testing procedures can be revised, new labeling guidelines might come out.
So what was compliant last year might not be this year.
Exactly. Relying on old information or assuming nothing has changed is a recipe for non-compliance. You could have perfectly good products suddenly become unsellable.
It feels like trying to hit a moving target. How can businesses possibly stay on top of all these potential changes across the GCC?
It requires continuous effort, definitely. You need processes in place to monitor for updates. For example, subscribe to official newsletters or updates directly from the GSO website and also from the national authorities in the countries where you sell, like MOIAT or SFDA.
Goes straight to the source.
Yes. Also, pay attention to industry news. Attend trade association webinars, compliance workshops. These often highlight recent or upcoming changes.
Stay engaged with the industry.
And internally, make it a regular practice, maybe annually, to review your entire product line against the very latest versions of the relevant standards and regulations.